Hi, everybody. This is Ben Colby, Teen Librarian at Enoch Pratt. I'm coming to you today from the Teen Center with a new and improved video for making a candle mold in Tinkercad. I'm going to start by making the basic shape. So we want this to be a combination of a box shape and a cylinder shape on the outside. So let's draw the size of this cylinder. I'm holding the Shift key. Let's just take it up to 75 by 75. We can adjust the size later, but that gets us kind of roughly where we want. We have found that the candles burn out to about 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters from the wick, so there's really no point in making them narrower than that. And I can show you a picture of that too. And I'll just take this to 125 or about 5 inches high. So this is a good start. Let's take a box, and I'm going to shrink this box shape. I'm zooming in with the F key. I'm going to shrink the box shape down to just 10 wide. And let's make it, let's see, we made the other one 125 tall, so that's fine. Let's just go up to 125. And then the last thing is see if you can drag that all the way across. And it only needs to stick out a little bit on both sides, so that's too much. And I can just kind of, nope, that's not enough now. It's to stick out just a little more. Great, and so for the first time in this design, let's use the Align tool. I'm going to drag a box over both my shapes. They are not aligned with each other right now, but I hit this button up here, which is also the L key. I align, and I have 9 different ways to align, but I want to align to the center in this direction and in this direction. And that should be good. And that's the outer shape of my mold. Now, let's start with the simplest possible way to cut out the hole in the mold. And that would be to take another cylinder. This time I grabbed the hole shape. You can always switch between the solid and the hole shape right there. And we said that, so this will basically be the shape of the candle that I'm creating right now. And I'm using Shift to make it a little bigger. I think 50 or maybe a little bit more than 50 is about our maximum diameter of the candle, and you can make it however tall you want. And if in the case of a hole like this, it actually can stick out the top and it's no problem. The only difference here is we want this to lift off the ground a little bit. So I'm taking that black cone. It does not need to be very far off the ground. Just a couple of millimeters is fine. Let's do one more align. I just drag a box over these 3, center it that way, and center it that way. And you can see here that I kind of left a lot on the outside. I want to kind of fix that now, just so that I'm not wasting material. I'm selecting only the orange cylinder. I'm going to shrink it a little bit, holding the Shift key, and then pull the height back up to where it was at 125. Now let's recenter everything. That's a little better. That's fine. So let's go ahead and then group all 3 of these things and group them. I now have a candle mold shape with 2 sides, and I'm going to want to cut this out. You only really need to make one side of the mold. So how do we do that? Let's see. What's the exact thickness of this? We want to create a hole that's exactly half. So this is 68 millimeters wide. So I'm going to take a box-shaped hole, and I want it to be, I'm just going to type this in right here. 68 divided by 2 is, quick, 34, right? So now I have a 34 millimeter thing. I stretch that farther than I need it. I stretch that up farther than I need it. Now I do one more line. This one's going to be a little different though, because I don't want to align it to the center like that. I actually want this aligned to the left side like that. So it's this one here. And you should see that now looks like it's perfectly slicing half of it off. And the fact that this is sticking out the end doesn't matter as long as this side is covered. So I'm going to hit that again to get out of the align tool and then drag a box and group. And I have officially finished a candle mold that I can 3D print and make a candle with. Now, you could stop here, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep adding a few things to this. So I'm going to ungroup, and so that just gives me back this shape. I'm going to click off so that I can just select one thing. I'm just going to take that whole shape and throw it off to the side. I know it's the exact size, so I'm going to keep it. Next, I'm going to ungroup this, and I'm going to pull just that candle hole out because I want to try something different for the candle hole shape. I'm going to just delete it. Okay, so what am I going to try? I want to use something with a taper on it. And unfortunately, this cylinder shape, you can't change the top and the bottom to be different from each other. So what I'm going to do is go to the shape generators, all shape generators, and there is a perfect one for this on page 6 of all shape generators. It is called, oh boy, come on. I guess I click on 5 first and then I jump to 6. Cylinder with something. it's cut off for me and I can't actually see what the rest of the word is. Cylinder with D. But what it is a cylinder that you can change the top and the bottom to be different from each other. So if I wanted the top radius, for example, to be a little more, it'll flare out like that. So let's think about creating a candle shape with a classic taper on it. Moving in towards the top. So let's start with 10 on the bottom. Or you know what, let's just go back to 10 on the top and change the bottom to just a little more than 10. How about 12? And that's quite nice. And you can see it's a shape that kind of shrinks to the top. So I can always change that into a hole. Let's stretch it to roughly the height of our mold. And actually, I can see it's so thin. Let's do the bottom cross section first. I only want it to be in the 50 to 55 range in diameter on the bottom. And then I can squish that back down roughly to the size of the mold. And I want to lift it off the ground just a couple of millimeters to leave that gap at the bottom, to leave that solidness at the bottom. And it looks like I need to just lift it just slightly more. Okay. Now I'm centering one more time. Center this way, center this way. Group all 3 together, cut the hole, and now we have a taper-shaped hole in there. Now, good thing I kept this off to the side because I can just bring it over, select it, and this time I'm aligning to the side, not to the middle. So I cut that out, and I can see it from the side. I could probably make the outside a little smaller again, but this is really nice. This is a candle that will taper in a little bit. Let me show one more strategy for this before I finish this video. Under basic shapes, not text and numbers. You can use text to add something, so let's do that. Oops. All right. So first thing that you want to do with text is just change the text to whatever you want it to say. I'm going to make this one say Naruto. Oh, geez. And I'm going to just kind of manipulate this shape until it fits on there. So let's see, I'm going to rotate it this way 90 degrees. I'm going to rotate it this way 90 degrees exactly. I'm hitting D to get it back up on the surface. Lifting it off the surface to be roughly centered. I guess you could have used the align tool again. All right, and then I'm just going to try to drag it roughly into place. And you can see that because of the taper, it's sticking out more on the bottom than the top. So how about this? Let's just take these words and just tilt them ever so slightly, just a tiny bit. I don't know exactly what the perfect alignment is, but I just tilted it 2 degrees, and it does look a little better. I can actually back that up into the shape a little more now and still get definition on the edges. You want this to be pretty well centered in the middle. And think about your mirroring. I've done this correctly, so it'll actually make the candle look right, but it's easy to get it backwards, so think about it. So I could then group these shapes and export my Naruto candle holder, and then I get a download file. Okay. I'm satisfied with that for video 1. We have learned a basic set of techniques for creating a 3D candle mold.